Hi guys, just thought I'd make a video about some of my favourite comedians. Some of them definitely you have heard of. Most of them are British, but there's some awesome Australian comedians that they're just too funny. They're just like too funny for my little dark life, you know. You get kind of dark comedy, you get comedy that you can interact with your family, you know. My grandfather, my uncle, sometimes my dad had a way of handling other family members that was quite funny, and British people just have that kind of a way about them, that sometimes have a manner that's quite humorous. So the first one I got to mention, my top 5, is actually an American comedian. I know there's probably tons really funny American, like Jewish comics and all that. Not to mention there's one guy that is really racist. Apparently he's Jewish, but he got kicked off of YouTube. It's not funny. Well, some of his stuff's actually quite funny. If you see the one about the Mexicans coming in, you see the one about him going into a Jewish shop and talking to Jewish people. If you see the one about him wearing a Ku Klux Klan outfit and going to a black neighborhood and things like that, pretty funny for YouTube anyway. But you know, I think the channel's banned. But as for a stand-up comedian, I don't think he's not a naturally funny person. He's more of a comedy actor. That guy, whoever he is, right? But my 5th favourite naturally funny comedian, stand-up comedian, and also he's an actor as well. He's a black comedian, and his name is Chris Rock. I don't know if that's his real name, but the way he delivers his material, the way he speaks, is really solid. Like almost like he chose that name, or I don't know who chose that name for him, Rock, you know. But the way he talks is very upfront and definitely very humorous, and he's done some really good comedy sketches that I think British people even find funny. You know, that we've got Monty Python and all these different, you know, the two Ronnies. I'm not really sure if I'm going to mention the two Ronnies, but I just have. I'm not really sure if they're on my top 5 yet. I've not really worked it out properly, but Chris Rock is my number 5, I reckon. It's almost impossible to sit in front of a Chris Rock routine. Within about 10 seconds, just laugh at something. You know, he's a naturally funny guy. It's really good delivery. So my number 4. God, let me see if I can get this right. I'm going to mess this up. I'm definitely going to mess this up. I should have written this down. I would have mentioned the Scottish comedian guy. I just spotted a beastie. Hold on. You kind of get these wee gecko lizards running about the floor sometimes, and most of the time we get them. That time it was a beetle. Anyway, made a video about Bobby Ball the other day. I think Cannon and Ball were really funny live. They had a good show in the 1980s, I think it was, early 90s, and they had people on. I found them, they were funny, but they were better entertainers. They were entertainers. And I just found them really funny. They're really kind of showbiz characters. Everybody went to see their show. They had kind of almost the same routines they did a lot of the time. I'm not sure if they varied it very much. It was very spontaneous material, just the way British people are. You know, the camaraderie that friends that's the way they kind of delivered their material, and I think that's why they were popular amongst British working class people. Not really sure how it translates if American watches Cannonball. Enjoy their singing, but you had to see them live. They were very, very good. Kind of reminded me of the performances. Sometimes you went to the King's Theatre in Glasgow or the Pavilion, and they got some very, very good singers, and Stanley Baxter, all these people, and they almost made eye contact with everybody in the audience. They made you feel as if you were part of the show, and I think that Cannonball kind of had that kind of a star quality. It could just draw you in to their performance and make you feel part of it in a lot of ways. So they're my number 4 favourite of all time, Cannonball. And let me see if we can get this right. My next one, number 3, which would be a lot of British people's number 1, I suppose, would be Billy Connolly. Billy Connolly also tried a stint in Hollywood. Hollywood brought him, into a few movies, and really didn't give him any proper parts in the movies. You know how Hollywood can invite you to a movie and you can end up doing some funny sketches and this and that, but oftentimes they won't make it onto the final cut. And I think that this happened a couple of times to Billy Connolly. Tried to do some shows over in America. I don't think he was as big of a hit in America as he was in UK and Ireland. Not even sure if he was a big hit in Australia as well. There was a preacher called, I think it was called Bill Glass, or was somebody Glass anyway. And he used to follow Billy Connolly around on a lot of the shows he did in the UK. This was back in the 60s and 70s, and he's very much against the foul language that Billy Connolly used, and he did swear an awful lot. There's a certain way that Scottish people, or maybe Glaswegians, I personally think that Edinburghers, people from Edinburgh, the way they swear a certain swear word, especially some of the ladies, is the most hilarious that I've ever heard. And there's not a lot of comedy shows that would reflect that. Probably the next favourite comedy accent that I've heard is a Yorkshire accent. I think Cannonball were from around Yorkshire, and they can swear a certain way that's really funny as well. So Billy Connolly inspired a lot of sort of individual type of spontaneous material. He's a very good storyteller, Billy Connolly. You can, if you've not heard it, Billy Connolly live, watch a few shows. If you're not from the UK, you might not relate too well, but I think that the way he expresses himself is a sort of a folk level, and it's not a Hollywood way. It's more of a folk level. It's more of a kind of a working class, but I would call it. He's a folk singer as well. He used to wear big banana boots and what have you, and sing funny songs in a banjo. And I think he still goes to a lot of the Scottish, kind of a Highland Scottish shows, music shows and whatnot. In the summer, you might find him in Skye and different places. And he's a musician as well, Billy Connolly. So he's a very interesting guy. And what else is to tell you? I think I made one video, it's on my channel, about Billy Connolly about a year ago, I think. So I've got him as my number 3. He made some very good British movies. After whatever happened in Hollywood, they brought him back. He made some pretty decent British movies as a serious kind of an actor, as it were. My number 2. Let me think about this. God, let me not mess this up. A comedy duo, I think it was. Let me just think. When I'm in Canada, or when I visited Canada, I have Scottish relatives there, and they make me say "wee beasties" all the time. They think that's funny. Just thought I'd mention that. Probably didn't do it very well there, but if I keep doing it, people tend to laugh a bit more. Comedy duos, there's the two Ronnies, there is Morecambe and Wise and what have you, a lot of talent in the UK. But I'm going to go back to, or half to America for this one, because the other half of this act is, one of them is born in Glasgow. A lot of people don't know that. But the one that transcends time, and probably the first comedy act that I used to sit down as a child and watch, was Laurel and Hardy. And Stan Laurel was the little one, used to do this with his hair, but he's a very good singer. If you heard him sing the Blue Mountains of Virginia, and that was actually him singing. He's a very, very good singer and entertainer, and so a lot of these guys, they perform live before they get into television and movies. So it's very interesting that the careers these people have before they become famous. But the rapport that Oliver Hardy and Stan Laurel had, even after they were making movies and they started doing TV shows. I think one of them is This Is Your Life, and you see how genuine they are. You know, they're just. I don't think even they made that much money from making movies and all of that, but all their movies are family entertainment. The whole family can sit down and watch them, and they're just comedy genius. So Laurel and Hardy for me is my number 2, which brings me to my number 1. You're probably wondering, of course, who that would be. Where am I going to go for that? Well, I'm going to go back to the UK for that, and one that you can check out a lot of their material on YouTube as well. Then probably they're not really famous in America, I would say. Definitely haven't broken America or what have you, but they're very well known in the UK for their sketches on the TV, the live performances. I think it was called Saturday Night Live back in the 80s. He started off himself, and his name is Harry Enfield. And he teamed up with a guy called, I think it was Paul Whitehouse from The Fast Show and what have you. There was sort of people that came on to this show, hosted by another Jewish comedian and comedy writer, who I think was involved in writing Blackadder as well. And a lot of people love Rowan Atkinson. You know, there's no doubt that you know, that show, Blackadder and what have you, is one of the funniest shows ever. But again, I just he's very funny and what have you, but he's outside my top 5. What can I say? But Harry Enfield, for me, the way he started, is a lot of funny, foolish stuff. Just being very foolish, and he used to do like comedy characters. One of the first ones that we used to know at school was Loads of Money. You can check that character out. And then I think there was Stavros, who was like a Greek bartender or something like that. And then later on, he did the this makes me laugh a lot, you know, because when I used to go out and with my friends and stuff like that, I used to do impressions. And the absent-minded bartender was there was a guy at our local pub that we used to go to when we were younger, and he just looked almost the same. It's really funny. So you got all these comedy characters, but I think that if you look at his stuff with Paul Whitehouse, he did some comedy sketches. I think there was some adverts of the South African president, Nelson Mandela. So Nelson Mandela promotes his Alka-Pops. Nelson Mandela promotes X, Y, and Z. Really, really funny. You can look them up on YouTube. I just think it's a kind of a dark comedy. If you don't have a sort of a dark comedy side, you probably think it's really insulting. But in fact, I think comedy should bring out a lot of truth in the world, and comedy is a very important thing to communicate things which in the world are very dark and wicked. There's a lot of, like, for example, drug dealing going on by our governments. There's a lot of corruption going on in our religious establishments. Whatever religious establishment that is, the Catholic Church, the Mormons, the Muslims, many Christian establishments and what have you. It's very, very wicked things going on. Comedy has a way for people to deal with and bring out truths to start with and be able to start dealing with them. And of course our friend there in Airdrie, who did the Nazi pug video, and then the Jews coming over from Israel to support him or to listen to one of his shows or whatever, and these Jews being called anti-Semitic because they're supporting a guy who's just did a Nazi pug video, which is being condemned by, I don't know exactly who, complained about it, but it just seemed that somebody got upset and then the police came around and arrested him, and then, we all know the story of Count Dankula. So I don't know how I got from Harry Enfield to that, but basically what I'm saying is, and also about Harry Enfield, has been asked that if he regrets any comedy characters that he's ever played, and he said no. I really like that. I really like people that have done something and they stand by it, and for that, he's a top comedian. A lot of Americans probably won't know him, but you can check out a lot of his stuff. One of my favourite ones is about women, and the other one is about the old footballers. We really used to love that at school. We talked about these at school a lot of these comedy sketches, making fun of the sort of the really 1930s, 1940s professional footballers, and then they're stopping, having tea in the halfway line and what have you, and doing all the routines. And then there's the one about women going to university and then they just losing their mind and what have you. It's really funny. I just find it funny. A lot of you might not find it funny, but some of you will. So I just thought, I was kind of inspired to make this video tonight for some reason. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on in the world that is not funny. All the elections, what's happening just now in the world, all the dark stuff, just really aren't funny. I just thought I'd make this little video to hopefully light a few candles out there and get people to deal with the realities of life, which having a sense of humour, you're able to do that. And Scottish people, British people are quite well known for having a sense of humour. So, and as are Jewish people, so I'm going to say shalom. The Lord bless you and keep you. And there's nobody got as better a sense of humour as Yeshua, as Jesus Christ. That will shock a lot of people. See you later.